When it comes to getting our series out there, then, what sort of schedule would you recommend? When should we be releasing book one, and then should we be drafting book two before we release it, or release it starting the book two before after we've released book one? What's your recommendation for that?
This is one of those it depends on the author sort of answers. I think there's definitely no one right way to release a series other than the way that's right for you as the author. I think once you start releasing in a certain way, whether it's rapid releasing, whether it's one book a year, you have to be consistent from then on, would be the main thing that I say. So, with the Oromir Chronicles, for instance, which was my first series, I only published one book a year. And I did not stockpile. I wrote the first book, then I published the first book, then I wrote the second book, then I published the second book, etc. Whereas with Curse of the Siren Queen, I took on a sort of more stockpile approach where I had written and edited and formatted and everything the first book, and I drafted the second, I'd outlined the third all before that first one came out. And I went with a faster release schedule for that. But that was just what was right for me at the time. And, I've found it less stressful for me personally to be a little bit deeper into the series before I release that first book. But that might not be right for everybody. I think as long as an author keeps their releases consistent, that's the most important thing, and that's the best way. And yeah, whether that's one book a year, whether that's one book a month, that's totally up to them and what's right for them and their lifestyle and their process and all of that. I would just say in terms of best release strategy is just be consistent.
I definitely won't be doing one book a month. That would be way too
Me
much.
either.
I'm not ready for that kind of that level of.
I'll be honest.
releasing.
The people I've spoken to who did that have ended up very burned out and nearly quit.
I think I would
have,
if I attempted that.
I couldn't go any faster than what I do. I'm not entirely sure I want to. My fastest turnaround for a book was 4 months, I think.
That's fast. I think that's fast.
That's very fast, yeah.
Like, it's funny because when you're in the midst of it, it feels slow. And I think that's just sometimes because you're so focused on it. And if you're writing about heavier topics, the draining effect of it. But it took me a long time to refine that. And I think if I wanted to, based on the new outlining process I have, I could go faster. But I don't want to.
No.
No, you would end up burning yourself out.
Yeah, I don't want to burn myself out publishing again. Like, I don't.
Yeah, and you don't want to lose the joy for the story and the characters because you're so focused on getting X amount of words done per day in order to meet this sort of arbitrary target. I really agree about when you're in it, it feels really slow. And I had this realization only yesterday when I was scheduling social media, and the 1 year anniversary for A Layer of Bones, which is the first book in Curse of the Siren Queen, that's coming up in July. And I just sort of had to take a moment and step back and go, hang on, has that only been out for a year? Because I've written and published books 2, 3, 4 is up on pre-order and with the editor. And I've also written a non-fiction book in between. And that year, while I was in the middle of it, just has felt like the longest time. And I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm never doing enough. And then I went to schedule this celebratory 1 year post and I was like, I've done all that in a year. And it was this very like sort of mind-boggling time warp feeling. So yeah, that's just a rambling add-on to what you were saying.
You've actually just triggered the same thing in me. Next week is the 1 year anniversary of publishing my first fantasy book, and I was so busy focusing on the release of book 4, I forgot that.
Right. I can't believe it's been a year already. Wow.
Yeah, I think it was the 29th or the 28th of June. It was the 20-something of June.
So you've done 4 books since that first one came out.
Yeah, and I published one in a different series as well. So I did one book in May last year, which was the 4th Hollywood gossip book. That was Hollywood Destiny. And then I did The Ghost Call in June last year, The Mummy's Curse in September. Then in January, I published the 5th Hollywood gossip book, which was Hollywood Heartbreak, and that was the really draining one. Then I did my next fantasy one, which was The Necromancer's Secret, and then I did The Witch's Sacrifice, which is what's coming out now.
That is a lot of books.
Yeah, and like I didn't consciously plan to release that fast. It wasn't an intentional thing. And I don't know if I would want to replicate that process. Just because, not just because it was draining, but because I think it took some of the fun out of writing because of working on 2 different series at the same time. And my initial plan was to write one and edit the other. But I like just going hard on the writing for a few months and then hard on the editing for a few months and treating it that way, because they're such different skills. And I find that I'm better at doing them when I really lead into them for X amount of time. So at the moment, I'm just taking some time to just write my fantasy and just enjoy spending time with the characters. And like I finished the first draft of book 5, like a couple of days after book 4 was done. And that sounds really quick, but I'd been writing it for nearly a year. It's just that like I'd been kind of writing it on and off. And because I'd had that outline, I could dip into it whenever I had time to write. And I just wanted to do the writing without worrying about other stuff.
Yeah.
And I never would have been able to do that with any of my others, because that book 5 in the Afterlife Calls series, which will be my 20th book, is the first one I've ever written in chronological order.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew. Well, I hope you're doing something to celebrate everything you've done in the last year, because that is an immense amount.
We're going to plan something. We'll plan something. We need to plan something.
We do. That's true. We do.